Everybody, welcome back to Weather for Weather Geeks. This is the most detailed forecast you're going to find anywhere for the Mahoning and Shenango valleys. And we, of course, talk about national weather stories in this video. Occasionally we get into some astronomy, we get into long-range forecasting, and we're going to talk about the winter forecast specifically in this video. We're going to blitz through the next couple of days, though, pretty fast because there's just not much going on. Take a look at the radar across the country this evening. I mean, nothing. A little bit of rain in the Pacific Northwest. Mostly in Washington state, but otherwise, I mean, wow, there is just almost nothing going on of interest across the country this evening. And so more of the same coming our way on Wednesday. A warm front will lift through. It'll be marginally warmer in the wake of this front tomorrow afternoon by a few degrees, but we're going to stay in the clouds. I think any flurries probably stay off to our east. And we're going to hang out in the clouds for much of the day and into tomorrow night. But finally, by Thursday, maybe we start to see some sunny intervals trying to develop as we get into the afternoon, and then I think we'll see some milky sun, at least during the first half of the day, Friday, before the clouds win the battle once again before the day is through. This first front on Friday will come through with little to no fanfare. It's the next front that's going to bring some precipitation over the weekend, specifically Saturday afternoon into Saturday night. And as I've been talking about lately, very often, mid-range period here, just there's no Arctic air on the playing field. So temperature is favored to be above average. And during this 8 to 14 day period, in other words, mid-December roughly, our average high temperatures are in the mid-30s, around 36 to 37 degrees. So lots of mild air coming our way. Let's talk about the winter forecast, because, again, there's not much interesting going on over the next handful of days. The last few years, I've always done the annual winter forecast around Halloween or early November, and then about a month later, I like to do an update to that forecast because over the course of a month, the winter pattern may begin to show its hand a little bit. Certainly computer modeling gets more accurate as you get closer to any event, including any season. And so, all that being said, our overall thinking when it comes to the winter forecast, at least in terms of the analogs that we use to construct this forecast, hasn't really changed much. This is the list of years that I think are most similar to this winter as far as the ocean water temperature anomalies around the globe, as far as what's going on in the atmosphere, both at the low levels and way above our heads near the stratosphere. If you remember from my annual winter forecast about a month ago, I talked about something called the QBO, which is an oscillation near the border between the troposphere and the stratosphere. It's way, way up there, but it's an important ingredient to determining overall kind of steering patterns and how much blocking there can be in the atmosphere. The more blocking there is, especially in the northern Atlantic, that tends to divert cold air down into the mid latitudes. Sometimes that occurs on the other side of the pole. Sometimes that occurs on our side of the pole, and it gets cold. So all these things are things we look at and we talk about. But yeah, this is the list of, 7 years that I think are most similar in what happened those winters. Our top analog is a recent one. 2016-2017 was a warm winter, +5. 69.5 inches of snow, a little above average in terms of snow that winter. Interestingly, and this one is kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. It's a little bit of an anomaly. 2010-2011 is a decent match. That was actually a very cold and snowy winter. In fact, one of the harshest winters on record with that combination of temperatures and snow. But there were other things at play that winter that aren't necessarily at play this winter, and I don't think that outcome is very likely at all. Some of these other winters were fairly mild, like 98-99 and 88-89 as well. All right, so this is what I think is the most likely outcome in the lower 48 states this winter. The most likely outcome is a warm winter by a fair margin, probably, in a lot of places, from Denver on east, basically. I've trimmed out, not that we care that much around here necessarily, but just for my edification, I trimmed out some of the cool anomalies I initially had as the most likely outcome in the Pacific Northwest. It looks like more and more like a colder than average winter may not occur almost anywhere across the lower 48 states this winter. That might be reserved for Canada and up towards Alaska. So yeah, 65% chance that it's warmer than average by a fair margin. The coldest outcome I could see, if things go a little bit sideways and maybe it's a colder winter than we think is going to happen, I still don't think it's going to be like a harshly cold winter in that coldest possible scenario. Coldest possible scenario, 10% chance, is that we have a winter that's a little bit of a return to form, a little bit closer to average than the last handful of winters. but I wouldn't put any money on this. I think it's about a 1 in 10 chance. All right, last winter locally was the 6th warmest on record. I think there's a 25% chance, a 1 in 4 chance, that this winter is in the top 5. In other words, a little bit warmer than last winter. You know, not exactly huge odds, but certainly something I wouldn't bet against, that this ends up being somewhere in the top 5. Snowfall totals this winter maybe somewhat above what we had last winter. Last winter was a real dud snowfall-wise. We've had a couple of duds in a row, but last winter in particular, at the airport in Vienna, only 44 inches. Average at the airport's in the low 60s. And so we probably won't see numbers that low this winter, but still these numbers are all below the average by some margin throughout our television viewing area. And as always, the higher amounts of snow are going to be in the north thanks to the lake effect component. As far as our confidence in this forecast, higher than usual confidence in the seasonal forecast this year, mostly because of the strength of La Nina, the cooling of the waters in the equatorial Pacific Ocean in a certain area of the equatorial Pacific. That signal is pretty strong this year. The stronger that signal is, whether it be a La Nina or El Nino, the more confidence we tend to have in seasonal forecasts. Also, aiding our confidence is the just overwhelming computer model consensus that this is going to be a pretty mild winter. There is no computer model data anywhere that I've seen that would suggest otherwise. So at this point, high confidence. Now, does that mean it's a guarantee? Does that mean that I'm definitely not going to have egg on my face at the end of this winter? I wouldn't say that. The atmosphere is extraordinarily complex and hard to predict, especially on a seasonal scale. And even though our confidence in the forecast is higher than usual, we'll see how it goes. And we'll do a thorough review of the winter outcome, if you will, on this video coming up in less than 3 months. At the end of February or that first week of March, we'll do we'll grade our winter forecast and see how we did. I think we'll do better than the last couple of years. The last couple of years have been a little bit shaky forecast-wise. I think this year we will do better. Thank you for watching Weather for Weather Geeks tonight. I'll see you back here on Wednesday.